Good Friday afternoon to you, and we hope your weekend is off to a good start. Welcome into More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. We will talk plenty of Browns as the NFL draft less than a week away, but we're going to begin with baseball and some good signs for our Indians. They sweep one of the best teams in all of baseball out in Seattle. They swept the Mariners. Now they're getting set for a homestand against the Braves this weekend. The Marlins will come in after that. Some irony in the 90s. The two teams they played in the first two World Series in the 90s. But even better news, it appears Francisco Lindor will make his Major League debut with the Indians this year, this weekend, as he got a couple at bats at AAA and definitely looked like he's ready to help the Indians lineup. Let's welcome in Indians reporter from cleveland.com, Joe Noga. He is at the cleveland.com studios in downtown Cleveland. And, Joe, Lindor looked pretty darn good in that rehab assignment.
Boy, if it was a matter of just waiting on his timing to be there for this AAA assignment, looks like things are in pretty good shape. 2 home runs, 5 hits total, 3 hits yesterday playing for Columbus against Louisville. The only question here really is he 100% healthy? Is he ready to be back? Just looking at his jog around the bases on that home run that he hit yesterday, we just hope that he's taking it easy and he was taking his time around the bases, and that's not the sprint speed that we're going to see when he gets called up.
And the other thing is it looked like he had a big brace on that ankle, and you can be sure, they're going to be very careful based on, if it's slick, if it's muddy, if it's anything, they're going to take it slow with Francisco Lindor. They don't want a recurrence where it becomes a recurring thing. But you plug Francisco Lindor and what he is capable of doing into this lineup, and lineup looks a lot better than it did just a week, 10 days ago.
Right, you add some punch to the top of that lineup as well. 38 home runs, 129 runs scored last season for Frankie. He's a guy who gets on base, and that's really what the top of the lineup has needed and has lacked in a couple of games here against teams that they could have taken advantage of in that regard. He definitely changes things for Terry Francona in terms of building that lineup, and it'll be interesting to see with Leonis Martin actually hitting pretty well out of that top spot what Tito decides to do and how he decides to arrange the lineup moving forward once Frankie is back, because that Tito likes Frankie hitting in that leadoff spot.
Let's take a look at the pitching matchups. I mentioned the Braves, really talented young team, and the Indians will send Corey Kluber tonight. Has had a couple of rough outings. Let's hope he gets back on track. And then 2 guys that have been really good. Bauer had the 1 bad start, but 2-1 at 2.05 ERA, and Shane Bieber has been as good as there has been for the Indians with that 1.71 ERA. So it'll be real interesting to see. They need Corey Kluber to be Corey Kluber and not the guy we've seen the last couple outings.
Right, and if you were picking 3 guys to be the 3 guys in this rotation against Atlanta, against these 3 young Atlanta starters, really talented, Kluber, Bieber, and Bauer would be the 3 that I would want going up, especially a Sunday night nationally televised game. You're going to showcase Shane Bieber and his sparkling ERA and his, so far his 2 starts have been fantastic this season. The Braves starters, the guys they're going to throw out there, none of them have faced the Indians before. All in the same sort of mold. These young, talented, versatile guys. The Touki Toussaint is a guy who pitched out of the bullpen his first appearance and pitched 6 innings and picked up a win. So they're young, live arms that can really get the job done.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the younger guys. The position players, the younger guys have not really stepped out. But in the bullpen, a couple of young guys, well, 1 young guy and 1 new veteran, have really lit it up for the Indians. Talking about Whitgren and Adam Simber. Those are 2 guys that have really helped Terry Francona in that bullpen kind of set things up and calm it down a little bit.
Right. I think with Adam Simber, you're seeing him being used in the way that the Indians envisioned using him when they first acquired him from San Diego. He's getting full innings. He's attacking left-handed and right-handed hitters. His appearance the other night and his strikeout of Mitch Haniger is a real indicator. He's able to go in there, get that tough right-handed bat, and he threw some pitches there when the count got to 3-2 that were as good as I've seen him throw against a right-handed bat since he joined the Indians. Nick Wickren is a guy who comes in, joins the Indians in the offseason from the Marlins in a trade, and brings with him a closer's mentality. He was the closer on the Big Ten champion team with Kevin Plawecki at Purdue in 2012. And Plawecki told me, he said, this is a guy who, when we gave him the ball, we knew he was going to get the job done. Well, that's how he's attacked the 7th, 8th innings that he's been put in there, recently. He's gone in there, his fastball, which by all accounts when he first joined the league was, not that high mid-90s fastball. He's been able to get it by guys. He's got a little bit of a deceptive delivery, and he's been highly effective for Terry Francona in his first, half dozen outings or so.
Yeah, without question, that's a guy that's claimed that 7th, 8th inning. We'll see him quite a bit unless he slips up for multiple times out. Got to talk about one guy. We've talked about him a little bit earlier in the year. Will Benson, former first-round pick of the Indians, had an outstanding game for the Rubber Ducks. And if this guy starts to, the Lake County Captains, if he starts to put things together, he's a guy that can really answer some questions as far as a power-hitting outfielder for the Indians.
Yeah, boy, your outfield depth really starts to take on a whole different perspective if Will Benson, your #1 pick in 2016, finally starts to sort of live up to that potential. It's weird to be saying that, though. The kid's only 20 years old. He's really young, and he goes out there, has 4 consecutive home runs in his first 4 at-bats last night for Lake County, including a grand slam. This is a kid who has all the potential to be that left-handed hitting power bat in the outfield that the Indians kind of have needed. If he develops that consistency and can play it maybe 1 or 2 more levels this year, that'd be a big boost for the Indians and their farm system. This was already a farm system that's probably, the next time things are reevaluated, is probably going to break into that top 10 in the league, just based on performances from spring training. But if Will Benson can live up to that potential, boy, he's a shot in the arm for the Indians just throughout the organization.
Well, you mentioned him. I was already putting him up at AA, so congratulations to him. But 20-year-old doing pretty well for the Lake County Captains. Joe Noga, as always, we appreciate the time, and we will check back in with Joe probably next week about the Indians. Well, we're going to take a quick time out, and we will check in with Doug Lesmerises. We're talking John Dorsey and the Browns draft, the way it sets up less than a week away. More sports and Les Levine. Weekend Winners Edition. We'll be right back.
Well, we're trying to get as many competitive football players to help this roster moving forward and help and contribute for the 19th season. You can't have enough good football players. At the end of the day, I'd like all 8 of them to be starters, but reality says that's not going to happen. You just want to try to get as many good competitive football players as you can.
Look at history and what it would take to move up from, let's say, 49 to whatever, 29 or whatever number that would be. and you look at what it's taken in the past, are you willing to give up like what other teams have done for that?
If there's certain players there that I deem that the value fits the player, yes.
John Dorsey talking about the NFL draft. Less than a week away. It will get underway round one Thursday from Nashville. Let's welcome in cleveland.com columnist Doug Lesmerises. Doug, gut feeling. Do you think they're going to trade up? You heard John Dorsey. You were there. You were asking him questions. They're going to trade up into round one, do you think?
Actually, to be fair, I was not there because I didn't think he was going to say anything, and he really didn't. No, I don't think they're going to move up. I mean, John Dorsey moved up in Kansas City to get Patrick Mahomes. That kind of move is not there, and I don't think mortgaging the future makes sense here. I think the only possible move up that makes sense, and I know a lot of people have talked about Jefferson Simmons, is if they feel like the left tackle of the future, who they have a high first-round grade on, is falling to the back of the first round, and they think they're going to get the guy who is going to step in for Greg Robinson next year and hold down that spot for 10 years, that to me might be worth it. Anything else, I think I would be wary of, giving away next year's draft pick for a guy that is not Patrick Mahomes.
Do you think it's cost prohibitive? You think they'd have to give up a first round because they're not in the top half of the second round, so it'd be a significant move. Is it the cost that you think would be prohibitive to moving into the first round?
Well, I mean, it's just cost, yes, like you said. I mean, they can't trade next year's first rounder to move up in the back of the first round here. Listen, you got your first round pick already. His name's Odell Beckham. It's okay. There's not a guy in this draft that you'd rather have than Odell Beckham. So, this is not coming from a position of weakness that they have to be desperate to get a first rounder. They've made their bed, and it's a wonderfully comfortable bed. So it's all good. I mean, John Dorsey was gifted with a lot of draft assets a year ago, and he did a really good job with them. But this is, and this is a go for it window. But I don't think a go for it window means trade away, your 2020 and 2021 drafts, move up a couple spots here. I hope they don't go crazy on this, and I'm going to guess that they wind up not going crazy and they end up picking where they are.
As you look at the defense, does the linebacking core and last year they didn't tackle well, a lot of missed tackles. Those concerns, or do you think that gets addressed? Are those things that are easily addressed, I guess?
Well, Jamie Collins is gone. He was part of the missed tackles. Joe Schobert's still here. I think that'll get better. I think part of that was what Greg Williams was asking these guys to do. Joe Schobert was hurt for part of the year. I don't think that's who he is. We know he's a great cover linebacker. I don't think he's a guy who's going to go out and miss tackles every game for the rest of his career. So I'm okay with the linebackers. I am not as concerned about that position group as some people are. If they wanted, I don't know that there are starters for them to draft here because their starters are pretty good. So if they want to draft a guy at linebacker they think could take over for Christian Kirksey next year, if they let Kirksey go after this year, for instance, like Austin Corbett for Kevin Zeitler, then I'm in on that. But I am not overly worried about they've got to get a linebacker, they've got to get a guy in the secondary who plays right now. Listen, John Dorsey said he hopes all 8 picks turn into starters, right? And that's just the thing you say, you want all good players. They better not turn into all starters because that means starters here are underperforming. They're too good to get 8 starters out of this draft. So I think their roster is pretty good on the first level. They need to add depth. They need to add young guys who can step in down the line. But there's not a position where I'm saying, oh, man, they got to address this right now for this year.
Let's shift gears a little bit to Ohio State. Some news about the quarterback position. Matthew Baldwin enters that dreaded NCAA transfer portal. What's going on with the guy that figured to probably be Justin Fields' backup for the Buckeyes?
Yeah, so the portal just means, he's transferred. He's gone. He's going to leave. They're going to have to get a grad transfer at quarterback. They only have 2 scholarship quarterbacks right now. They called this a quarterback competition. If anybody along the way told you that Matthew Baldwin had a chance to win it, you were led astray. Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback from the minute he got to Ohio State's campus. So now they've sort of lost 3 quarterbacks, kind of as an answer to Justin Fields being here. Tate Martell and Matthew Baldwin have transferred, and a kid named Dwan Mathis flipped his commitment last year when the Fields rumors came out. They have their starters. They think Justin Fields is top end. The guy was the number 2 recruit in the country. I have questions about him for 2019. He's definitely talented. He's not going to be Dwayne Haskins in year 1. But Ohio State is losing backup quarterbacks, but they think they have their number 1 guy that they can get to the college football playoff with. So that is a trade-off they will make. It is not panic mode for Ohio State fans that Matthew Baldwin is leaving. It's not great. But honestly, if something happened to Justin Fields, if he got hurt this year, they were probably in trouble anyway. You end up in college football now a lot like the NFL. You bank on your starter, and if something happens to him, your season's not going to go very well. But as long as they have a healthy Justin Fields, I think they'll feel okay about it.
Do you think they will likely get a graduate transfer coming in?
Yeah.
Is that the expectation?
They have to.
Any names that jump out? No. So
I would. Frederick Ginobili, who is from Papua New Guinea. I've heard. I don't.
Let's put him down.
Nobody.
Let's sign him.
I made that guy up. That's an imaginary person. I made that guy up.
All right. Doug Lesmerises, we appreciate the insight as always. Talking Browns and Buckeyes. We will check back in with Doug Lesmerises, columnist from cleveland.com next week. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will look at the Cleveland Browns schedule with Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report. Straight ahead when the Weekend Winners Edition returns.
When my dad started Keystone right here in Northeast Ohio, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems. Unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Keystone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Keystone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and always affordable. Plus, Keystone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Keystone installed in your home by the end of April and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Keystone.
Well, I think it gives I think the players get excited to play on primetime, as they say, primetime football. But I think it also gives the country a chance to see, when we play home at First Energy, to see how passionate the fan base truly is and how exciting football is here in Cleveland.
The Browns will be in primetime 4 times this year, and a lot of them early in the season. Let's welcome in Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report, also a contributor here on cleveland.com. Jake, you heard John Dorsey talk about it. Everybody's excited for primetime games. As you look at the schedule, what jumps out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be excited about the early primetime games with the Jets, especially getting a Monday night football game. Then you come home the next week if you're coming off a couple successful first games, and then you get your first real nighttime action on primetime for the Browns at home, and that's an extremely exciting scenario for them. As sort of a front runner. I know that we had the Jets last year, but that Thursday night football feels a little bit different than Sunday night, Monday night football. Typically, those Sunday night, Monday night slots are reserved for those that are in true, contention or have carried over contention from the year before. So it'll be really good to see. And then you do get another Thursday night game later in the year, which will, be against Pittsburgh at home. I think their first night game against Pittsburgh since 2009, when the 1-11 Browns beat them 13-6 in Cleveland, if I recall correctly. So it'll be exciting to see them get some primetime games, and they could be flexed into late in the year. Maybe if they're in contention, like we're all hoping for, they could get flexed into a Sunday night game, in their last 3 or 4 weeks, as they like to do at NBC. So it's exciting. You get the Rams as the defending, team in the Super Bowl last year, defending NFC champion. So it'll be exciting to get them at home. It'll be a true barometer for where the Browns are. And then you can't sleep on the 4:25 game either. It seems like CBS sort of blocked that game out, as they wanted that game with New England in New England as a part of their primetime package. It is 4:25. It's not a night game, but you're going to get that Nance Romo top broadcasting crew, and that's going to be the NFL's featured game of the week, I would imagine.
Well, the other thing about that, coming off the bye week, so you get a little bit of more time to get ready for the defending Super Bowl champions from the Patriots. Do you like the way it finishes up? It seems like it's a challenge early, which I don't know if that's great given what the Browns have with a new head coach and new defensive coordinator. But you got to like the way that schedule lines up at the end, at the back half of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're looking just based on records last year, that's, you try to keep that in perspective. That's a little bit dangerous because there's so many variables that go year to year with football. Players get hurt. You don't know who's going to truly be the 4 teams or the better teams. You have a good feeling looking at the roster, but just so many things are weird and shake out different. Like last year, for example, you thought Cincinnati in the beginning of the year was going to be a front runner in the division, and then injuries decimate that roster, and all of a sudden they're losing games like crazy at the end of the year. You never truly know, but it is fun, Dave, to look at the schedule and feel like, yeah, the first half does present some challenges, but there's an opportunity there to win 4 games, 5 games in the first 9 weeks, and then you're looking at a back half of the schedule that should, granted the division is kind of what everyone's projecting it to be, set up for a really nice end of the year, a good chance for the Browns to make a playoff run. Again, with 2 games against Pittsburgh in a 3-week span, and then getting the Bengals twice and the Ravens. So I think they're going to have a good chance if the division is, the Browns have the most talent in the division, like many people seem to think, and justifiably so, that they'll have a good shot to make a good run there to the playoffs in the last half of 2019.
The other thing is you get Kareem Hunt back. In theory, if everything goes the way the Browns think it will and Hunt thinks it will, he'll be back in Week 10. So he comes back, and that's right when you get into the meat grinder of that AFC North competition as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it the same way you looked at Nick Chubb sort of coming into taking a load of those carries there at Tampa Bay. I'm not sure that was like Week 6, Week 7 this past year. So, yeah, you would, in theory, you get Nick Chubb, you use him heavily for the first part of the year, and how much they're going to use him with the guys who like to throw the football and Tom Monken, you don't really know, but it is going to be good to get a good pair of fresh legs. And, and I keep saying it all offseason, a guy who was a top 3 running back in the NFL the last 2 years, you can't really sleep on his skill level. So finding ways to incorporate him with fresh legs and an eager, hungry attitude that you would hope that he would have in this situation, you can't really sleep on that, bringing another element to the Browns offense.
All right, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit. How many wins? You look at the schedule, how many wins do you see?
It's tough. We went through game by game, and it's hard not to be. I think if you remove the Browns logo from the situation, you would see that this roster has enough talent that they should be favored in a good majority of these games. Now, does it all manifest itself into wins? We don't know. But as you look at it, I said it this way. A very realistic yet optimistic is 11-5 for me. I think that is a good goal that they should really be shooting for. Could they get to 12 or 13? It'd be crazy. It would be sort of a euphoric situation. We wouldn't know what to do with ourselves as guys who have watched this team for 20 years struggle as much as they have. But yes, it would not be crazy to me looking at the schedule if things shake out with other teams' rosters as we think they might, that they could get to 12 or 13. But that's crazy optimistic for me. I think realistic 11. Now, on the bottom side of that, if you just look at like splitting with some of the division, sweeping some division, but also maybe like looking at splitting some of those tougher games like the Seahawks, Patriots, Rams, you look at them maybe winning one of those type. I thought 9-7 at the bottom side of a good season. 9-7 is also realistic. Does that mean 10 in the middle is probably the most plausible outcome? Probably 10-6. I did it myself. I thought 11-5, 10-6, 9-7 should be 9-7 would be a bit disappointing. Because they'd kind of be fighting for wild card. We would love it. We'd be in a good situation as a fan base because it's that sort of linear improvement that you're hoping for. But I think on the bottom side, 9-7 could still be viewed as successful. Anything below 9 wins, barring something crazy happens like Baker Mayfield gets hurt, something like that just derails NFL seasons. If they finish with a relatively healthy roster and they are below 9 wins, that would be a disappointment. And I think everybody in Berea would agree with that.
Jake Burns, stick around. We're going to talk some draft. What will it take for the Browns to get back into the back half of the first round? We'll ask Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report when we return to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Stay with us.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
If I deem it will help the Cleveland Browns, I'll do that if it helps the organization moving forward. But the compensation on the back end can't be like, outlandish. It can't be outrageous. It's got to work on both sides.
There are guys, that might come to you a little bit, maybe in the back end of the first round that you're just going to have and that you're going to be super motivated to do.
Well, I think you just got to wait and let that happen on draft day and see how it unfolds. Yes, Terry.
You did mention linebackers as a position of depth in the draft. Are you
okay with the linebackers you got now, or are you still looking around, or what?
No, I think the current guys that we have on this on our roster right now played a lot of football. I think there are some guys within this draft class that are worthy of drafting at certain spots, and I think that's how you go about this thing. And then there's other avenues of acquiring football players as well.
Well, of course, that would be trade, and John Dorsey's never been afraid to trade. Let's welcome back in Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report. And Jake, a linebacker who might be there at the bottom half of the first round that will definitely intrigue the Browns. Devin Bush from Michigan. What do you like about him? What do you see about him? What type of player is he potentially in the NFL?
Extremely fast, extremely athletic. If he has the ability to take on blocks, which is a paramount part of playing linebacker in the box in the NFL, you got to be able to take on burly linemen, whether you're beating them with speed or power, rip throughs, things like that. He does it. He produced at Michigan enough that you feel good about the player's production. He tested off the charts, ran in the 4.4s, just a really good athlete with great short area quickness and a nose for the football, which I think is paramount too. Probably, in my opinion, is an ideal will linebacker. Could he be a Mike Backer? Yeah, of course. If you can make Joe Schobert a Mike Backer in the right defense, you can make Devin Bush the same. Just hyper athletic, really good football player, would fit with what Cleveland wants from that position. Obviously, they have Christian Kirksey, who they think is a cornerstone of the franchise and rewarded him so contractually, but the play has slipped. Not to say he can have a bounce back year in a new defensive scheme, but it's something they have to keep their eye on and monitor closely. So, when you look at Bush, he's kind of in contention with Devin White, the LSU linebacker, for that top linebacker spot. It's tough to know the valuation of linebackers across the NFL. A lot of teams see that sort of middle to late round. I would say that the linebacker position defensively is valued the same way running back has turned to value offensively. So you don't know if teams are necessarily going to jump in an early first round opportunity to take him. So say he's there at 21 when Seattle is set to select. Seattle only has 4 picks in this draft. Might be an ideal trade up scenario right there. You could get him for something that's not a crazy hit, and including somebody like Duke Johnson and a couple other picks on the back end, and moving your second rounder there to get him is certainly plausible. The Colts and Ballard are always willing to move back at 26. They like to stockpile picks. And then New England at 32 is another potential trade-up spot. Is Bush there? Maybe. He seems like an ideal candidate to go in the 20s. It's just going to depend on when Devin White gets taken too. I know he's a target of Tampa Bay around 5, and then you got to look at other rosters for who might be interested in linebackers. But it is a position that they have to upgrade and have to bring in somebody. The Zach Brown is a free agent that's out there that they've had a little bit of interest in. Not sure if anything will get done, but they have to get a linebacker somewhere. Does it make sense to sit at 49 or sit in the 3rd round and get somebody, or do you want somebody who can impact your defense from the get-go? And that's what you could have in Devin Bush, and he's probably going to be there to be a trade-up target if they should choose to do so.
Another guy that potentially could be a trade-up target would be Andre Dillard from Washington State. A real big offensive lineman. What do you see with Dillard?
Well, he played in an air raid scheme. He played with Mike Leach, who a lot of us know as the sort of passing guru of modern football. He's under Hal Mumme for all those years and Texas Tech gunslinger years, and he's brought it to Washington State. So ton of pass drops, ton of pass sets, led the country in a 75% pass situation in Washington State. So really good, light, nimble on his feet. Does a nice job with pull chop scenarios, which is just a handwork technique used to pull linemen down. But he can get there. He can get the pass sets you need, those big drop kick steps that you need to get at least in the way and slow down and push to the high side. These NFL speed rushers, he can handle it. Run game stuff, nasty finishing is not necessarily a great part of his game. Modern NFL doesn't seem to be gearing itself toward a ton of run game stuff. I think he's sufficient in that area, but he is going to be drafted and going to be trusted as a left tackle because he can protect really well on the high side, but has a good enough awareness of what's going on to be able to handle secondary moves and line exchanges. In the NFL today, you get so many defensive end and defensive tackle twist exchanges, things like that. You have to have a very heady offensive line these days who can know what's coming, have a feel for it. He's that guy. I think he's proven himself as a good pass protector. And the Browns have valued that. If you look at who they've kept around, Kendall Lamb and the guy they brought in, these guys that they have brought in this offseason have been better pass protection guys than run grade guys. So you're looking at the Browns valuing that, and for obvious reasons, as Todd Monken and Freddie Kitchens will look to push the ball downfield early and often. So it could make sense for them to move up if they think this kid could be a long-term left tackle piece for a good price on a rookie contract. as the Browns are going to have to pay the likes of Myles Garrett. They're going to have a top-of-the-market wide receiver in Odell Beckham being paid, and eventually have to pay Baker Mayfield too. So you're looking at how do we fit budget long-term with the players at the valuable positions that we need. So that type of move up, if he slips to 21 through 32, they could say, hey, we got to go get somebody we think can anchor this offensive line, be a long-term piece next to Baker Mayfield.
Last guy I'll ask you about DeAndre Baker, a cornerback from Georgia. What do you see about him? What's to like about that player?
Well, he's athletic. I mean, you have to be athletic, but he tested well enough athletically for me. He didn't jump off the charts, which is important for a guy his size, but that doesn't always necessarily matter. He's able to play the football well at the college level. He produced tackling, which you need to as a cornerback. And he's just very heady in a cover 3 scheme. I think he's an effective zone coverage guy who can really read route transfers. If you're covering a third of the field, you have to know who's leaving your zone and who's coming into it. I thought on film he's shown some really keen ability to figure out route concepts, as a big student of the game. And if the Browns, it's tough to know who the Browns love at corner. Could it be Byron Murphy from Washington, who we've talked about before? Could it be DeAndre Baker, this Georgia kid we're talking about? Or could it be Greedy Williams if Greedy Williams falls, or Julian Love from Notre Dame? I just think the Browns have to get a corner. If they grade one that is high enough that they feel like we have to go get this guy in the first round, whether it's Baker or Murphy, I guess they're going to be tempted to go get that player and not wait till 49 and just hope that Justin Lane is there, or hope, like I said, Julian Love is there. This is a good corner class, in my opinion. There are some guys out there that can be effective players in round 2 or 3, but they could feel that urgency. Hey, we need to go get this guy we really love for our scheme. And I don't think he's going to be there at 49. Does that mean moving into the first round? That's possible. Does it mean waiting until day 2? Always a lot of trade action that happens when you get a chance to step away from the first round, look at who's available at the top of the second round, and then sort of look at who we could move up and go get at the top of the second round. So cornerback's fascinating to me. How they value that and how they look at this player, the group of players that fit their scheme, and whether they want to move up is interesting. And I thought Baker could be a guy that they move up and get maybe at pick 32 of New England if they want that 5th-year option.
Jake Burns, as always, we appreciated some insight about what the Browns may do trading up into the back half of round 1. All the questions will be answered in less than a week. NFL Draft will be upon us starting next Thursday with the first round of the NFL Draft. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. It's our weekly dose of Maction when More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition, return.
Hello, I'm Chad Miles, host of Kentucky Afield, the longest-running outdoor show in the nation. I've had the privilege of watching Kentucky's elk herd grow to the largest east of the Mississippi, attaining Boone and Crockett status, and I've shared in some amazing elk hunts along the way. This year, nearly 600 tags are available to the public, and you can take your pick of tags to put in for and possibly go on the hunt of a lifetime. Simply apply by April 30th for your chance to hunt elk right here in Kentucky.
We are almost out of time on this edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition, but we always have time to get some action. Softball and baseball, the spring sports, take center stage in this week, Mac Tracks with Heather Klatt.
Hey guys, it's Heather, and here is your Mac Track. Since the weather's nice, we're going to keep it short for you this week. Starting off with softball, Kent State's Andrea Sicali threw her second no-hitter of the season. The Golden Flashes are currently tied with Miami for the top spot in the conference. The ladies will be taking the field at Firestone Stadium in Akron in just 3 short weeks for the 2019 MAC Softball Championship. Northern Illinois first baseman Katie Keller has been named a candidate for the 2019 Schutt Sport NFCA D1 National Freshman of the Year. The list of 25 will be narrowed down to 10 on May 9th, with the final announcement coming later in the month at the College World Series. Over on the baseball diamond, Kent State walked it off first pit on Wednesday thanks to Pavin Parks, who also recorded the win. That's right, the starting shortstop went 4 for 5 and took over the mound in the top of the 9th, retiring the Panthers in order. The Toledo Rockets are currently on a 4-game win streak, And there's still 5 weeks to go until the championship, but as of right now, Miami is leading the field at 10-2 in MAC play. Spring championship season is in full swing with women's golf over in Noblesville, Indiana, and men's tennis beginning today in Kalamazoo. Check our website, getsomeaction.com, for all of the latest information on those. We'll see you guys next week.
We're all out of time on this week's show, but stick around. Bill Castrovince will join me for the High School Sports Insider. We'll see you again next week on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Keep it simple.
Leaders lead. Leaders lead.
Let's go! Stop whining!
Again, go again, yes! You gotta rotate, go, Stone!
The High School Sports Insider is brought to you by Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. By the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. By Spectrum News 1, always Ohio, always refreshing, always on, exclusively on Spectrum. By Dominion East Ohio, Dominion, it all starts here. And by Classic Teleproductions. Easter has come and gone. May is right around the corner. That means the spring sports are in full swing. A great time to join us for this edition of the High School Sports Insider. Along with Bill Castrovince, I'm Dave Bacon.
On today's show, we'll meet a champion from Champion, some Red Devils that are red hot, and a Blue Devil that's shining bright. Plus, we've got a team that has a connection to a popular movie from the 1990s.
We begin tonight on the diamond with one of the top-ranked baseball programs in the state. I know it's early in the baseball season, but Jackson has spent time near the top of Division I state rankings all early season. Trey Wright is one of the reasons why. Wright is a Division I college baseball recruit and 4-year varsity player for the Polar Bears. He's their leadoff hitter. Last year in 116 plate appearances, Wright hit over .450 and struck out twice all season. Trey Wright from Jackson High School, our Cuyahoga Community College student athlete with a future. Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. He's listed at 5'8", 180 pounds. Not exactly prototypical size for a baseball player, but Jackson High School's Trey Wright definitely has the it factor. Wright is the type of player coaches love and teammates respect.
He's what every coach wants. He's a 4-year guy for us. He's been up top. He's played behind some really good catchers. And he caught all year last year for us, and he's able to play with our lineup. We're able to really not beat up catchers and beat up arms, and that's a big deal for us early. And we're fortunate to have a couple pretty good catchers in our program, but he shows his versatility and his athleticism. He's able to play. He was second baseman on our state championship team. He's able to play a solid third base. He can hit the front of the order. He can be an RBI guy. He can be a table setter.
Wright was the starting second baseman on the Polar Bears' 2017 state championship team. He's a 4-year varsity player who loves being part of what Jackson baseball has become.
It is awesome, and it definitely means a lot to me. And you see people, when you wear the hat around, people will kind of watch you and take an extra glance because they realize what that represents, and they realize it's a pretty big deal. And to have it be not just a one-time thing, be a tradition is just, it makes it that much better.
In his senior season, Wright moves behind the plate and carries on the tradition of very good catchers at Jackson. Trey was also the Polar Bears' starting quarterback in football, and he sees the two positions as having some carryover.
In the huddle, everybody's looking at you, and when you're playing on the field, everybody's got to looking at the catcher, so everybody's looking at you again. And it's kind of, you are quarterback in the defense, I guess, out here. And it's good to be in charge and involved in everything. So you're getting every snap in football and you're getting every pitch in baseball.
Wright also plays several positions in the infield this season and is the Polar Bears' leadoff hitter.
I like to at least give my guys a chance to see something in the dugout. If he's going to throw me a first pitch fastball, I might swing at it, but I'd rather give the the hitters in the dugout something to see, because I know as a hitter personally, if I'm watching in the dugout, I want to see what he's got. So I try to get a few pitches here and there and then just get on and make something happen.
The things that people don't see maybe behind the scenes, his work ethic is exceptional. The way he trains, the way he takes care of his body. And I think that's where everybody has the utmost respect for him is the way he trains and the way he goes about his business.
Next year, Wright has accepted a baseball scholarship from the University of Toledo.
People were friendly. A few other places I'd been, they weren't too friendly. They were kind of, you're there for them rather than they're there for you. And so it just felt like a good friendly atmosphere, and that was kind of inviting. So they were nice to me. And, just you're going to have to be surrounded by those people all the time for the next 4 years, so they better be a good group of people.
He's exactly what every coach wants. I know Coach Me at Toledo is going to get an exceptional athlete and a guy that just knows the game really well and plays at a high rate of speed, sets the bar really for our team.
Our next stop is LaGrange, Ohio, a small town that loves Keystone High School softball. Fresh off a state championship, the Wildcats want to go back-to-back this season for the first time in school history and give back to their community as well. Throw in a legendary coach, a bunch of college recruits, and a connection to Hollywood, and you have Keystone Softball, our team of the week. LaGrange, Ohio is a small village that has produced some great ball players, like Dorothy McGuire. McGuire was an all-star in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League in the 1940s, which was celebrated in the 1992 movie, A League of Their Own.
And these kids need to know that this is something that's really important, that, here's somebody from our school that went on to play professional baseball in the Women's League, and then it's on a Hall of Fame. That's pretty cool.
Today, Keystone High School is churning out the talent. Jim Piazza has been the head coach for 17 seasons. 59 of his players have played in college, and 4 more will do so next year.
The reason a lot of us go to the next level is because we have such great coaches. Our coaches want us to do well, and they push us, and because we all know that we all want to go to the next level, we motivate each other as well.
The Wildcats have also gotten to the state tournament 17 times, and all of LaGrange has been there to cheer them on.
When we go to Akron, almost our whole town's there, and it's amazing. And we're a small town, and to get that many people to go fill the stadium is just so enjoyable.
Last season, Keystone won its 4th state title when Marley McNulty drove home the game-winning run in the 12th inning.
As soon as I heard the crowd in the background chanting my name, and I just felt so secure that I was gonna just get a hit right away. As soon as I heard that, I just felt like everyone has my back, and I need to have theirs too.
Win or lose, the Cats give back to their community, like holding a toy drive every Christmas.
I really enjoy giving back to the community. I love just to see the faces on the kids when they get to see and choose from all the toys.
But right now, the Cats are focused on June 1st.
Winning a state championship has been our dream since we were little, and to be able to do it was incredible, and I am just excited to get the chance to do it again.
Nobody's done it before at Keystone, so if we are the ones to come to do it, especially with graduating with the back-to-back, that would be exciting.
Year in and year out, Keystone has a talented team with great grades. Their team GPA is always around 3.9.
We're just getting things rolling on this week's show. When we return, we'll check in on a shining star on the court and an ace in the circle for the top-ranked softball team in Division III. The High School Sports Insider will be right back.
The best thing Tri-C did for me was give me opportunities. The workforce program prepared me for the career I have now. I got a job in the aerospace industry where I work on CNC machines. I have 3 younger brothers. I want to teach my brothers, hard work actually pays off. Come to Tri-C. It's a great stepping stone to wherever you're trying to get to in life. My name is Chris Grooms, and I got my start at Tri-C.
The High School Sports Insider rolls along. Thanks for riding shotgun with us. Pitching dominates the sport of softball, and Champion High School, the defending Division III state champs, have 2 of the most dominant pitchers in the state. Sophie Howell and Allison Smith are both juniors. Both are Division I college recruits. Howell is headed to Youngstown State to continue her education and softball career, but for the rest of this year and next, Howell will be in the circle causing problems for the Golden Flash's opponents. Sophie Howell, our Spectrum News 1 Game Breaker.
She throws hard, but that alone isn't what makes Champion High School's Sophie Howell so hard to hit.
Probably just hitting my spots and moving the ball around like everywhere in the zone, trying to keep the hitters on their feet, not knowing.
Control can be a key to any pitcher having success. With Howell, the one thing is her ball moves so much, it can frustrate and sometimes even baffle hitters.
I actually try not to aim at all. I just kind of like just pitch and like hope it goes where it goes, because whenever you try to aim the ball, typically it brings your speed down or the ball doesn't hit its spots. Like you just have to like kind of just hope for the best, and that's why you practice. Just practice, obviously, like just because I have to practice like consistently throughout the week, game or no game. So just practice and then I just get used to it. So whenever I'm in the game, it's just kind of natural.
When Howell is in the circle, her demeanor is that of a pitcher in control, and with good reason. She's been there and done that for the Golden Flashes. Howell is a junior who committed to Youngstown State during her sophomore season, and she doesn't seem fazed by much.
I'm pretty confident in the circle, but it's mostly because I know like if somebody gets a hit off of me, I have my defense to back me up, and even if like I give up a run or something, I know that my team can come up with the bats and pull through.
Watch Sophie's face, watch her eyes. The intensity is amazing. That girl puts on a game face.
Howell, along with Allison Smith for Champion, are the best 1-2 pitching combination in Ohio. Both are Division I college recruits. Both are only juniors, and both are dominant in the circle and only worried about winning.
It's really nice, especially because like we both just like can have so much confidence in each other, and it's just so nice that like no matter what, we know that we'll have each other's backs.
What's amazing is to be a smaller D3 team school and to have two D1 pitchers the same grade and be able to do the things that they do. The team's blessed, the township's blessed to have players like them. We're just glad to have them.
Howell is also a threat at the plate. She has worked hard and takes a lot of pride in developing the offensive part of her game.
Just like being more consistent with the pitches I'm swinging at, because sometimes I tend to just swing at like balls a lot. So just trying to be more consistent, stay through the ball, try to just get some like solid hits.
Every week, we team up with the Ohio Lottery to honor students who get the job done in the classroom. Today, we've got a girl who can do so much more. Caitlin Hollup shines on the court, in school, and in her community. Let's head to Brunswick and meet Caitlin Hollup, this week's Ohio Lottery Partners in Education Shining Star. Caitlin Hollup juggles a lot of things, but she is honored to be a shining star for doing it.
It means a lot. I just put a lot of effort into like sports and school both, so it's just like good that it's shown.
Hollup went out for the Brunswick tennis team 2 years ago as a freshman, and her background in dance came in handy.
You know, she was involved in some dance, and that really helped me along because I said, wow, hand-eye coordination is gonna be there. Her footwork is gonna be there right away. So when she got on the court, very natural, very fluid.
Caitlin is now a leader for the Blue Devils, even though she's just a junior.
She kind of is a great role model for the younger kids in watching her at practice and working, you know, on her different hits and things of that nature.
But she's even more impressive in school. Hollup is a 4.0 student who is taking honors classes and already earning college credit too.
I'm getting things done earlier, so I don't have to worry about as much as in college. Since these college classes are going to transfer, I don't have to worry about like those basic classes anymore.
She is self-motivated, she is determined, she does things for the sake of learning, not for the sake of points. She's a fantastic student.
And she's happy to give back to her community. Caitlin tutors her brother and her friends, mostly in math, which is her favorite subject. And she volunteers at the library and other school events. Brunswick is lucky to have student athletes like Caitlin Hollop.
It's a good feeling helping others in the community and just like coming together as a community to volunteer.
For her to be a shining star and to be honored like this, it's obviously great for the program, great for Brunswick, but more happy for her and her family.
If you know a student who shines in the classroom like Caitlin, go to OhioLottery.com. Look for the About section. In there, you'll find the Supporting Education tab, which has all the information you need.
If you missed some of today's show or want to see past episodes, they're online and free. What a deal, I know. Head to citybeat-tv.com. That's citybeat-tv.com.
Coming up next, we'll head back to the Diamond for some red-hot Red Devils. And our Insider Classic is traveling the country and competing in marathons on one leg. Stick around.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for hanging with us on this edition of the High School Sports Insider. The Crestwood Red Devils have been the top softball team in Portage County for a few years. The Red Devils were a perfect 12-0 in the PTC a season ago. Their last league loss was more than 2 years ago. Crestwood has a number of players who have been a part of that success back this season, in addition to some young talented players. We have an all-access look at Crestwood softball.
In coaching circles, the old adage is good teams don't beat themselves. In softball, that translates to not walking a lot of hitters and making sure the infield defense is very strong. Two areas that are related in Crestwood High School's case.
A tribute to the defense that's behind her, that she knows that if a ball is put into play, that the defense is going to come through. And I think the big thing is how that game finished. You know, nice line drive to second baseman, and the shortstop was at second, you know, for the force out. So that gives a pitcher a lot of confidence when they know they have that kind of a defense behind them.
The Red Devils have been one of the top teams in the Portage County League for a number of seasons, and they seem to have an understanding of game situations.
That's something that we always tell them, is to be more proactive than reactive, is think ahead of time, is know where the runners are. And if the ball is hit to me, where am I going to go with it, rather than reactive as, oh my gosh, I have the ball. What do I do?
This year, Crestwood has a nice mix of youth and veteran players. They're used to winning and know how important it is to stick together.
We have been playing together for a number of years, so we're good at communicating and acting as a team. We do get down sometimes, but we're good at not letting things snowball.
We definitely need to get along as a team, first of all, and we need to communicate on the field and always support each other no matter what happens, no matter how we perform, no matter what happens during the game. We always need to be happy for each other and support each other through everything.
Head bats in the middle of Crestwood's lineup and has shown the ability to drive the ball to all fields.
We definitely have some good hitters, and we definitely have speed, and Angie is really quick at the beginning of the lineup. She really helps us to get runners on the bases and, you know, start off the game really good. And at the bottom of the lineup, we have some hitters too.
She's a little bit more disciplined this year than I think she has been in the past. She was always like a first pitch hitter, and told her to be a little bit more selective, and I see that in her this year. Then she's getting those pitches that she can hit a lot better, so I think that's helping her.
It's time to go back in time for this week's Insider Classic, but we've got a pioneer too. Jenna Fessmeyer is born with one leg, and yet she's competing at the University of Illinois, and she's a professional wheelchair racer too. Fessmeyer recently finished second in the LA Marathon. Not to mention, Jen has competed in the Boston and New York marathons, and she's won the Columbus Marathon twice. But let's go back to her high school days at Southeast as we honor Jenna Fessmeyer, this week's Insider Classic. It's been an amazing journey for Jenna Fessmeyer and her wheelchair racer, and we've been with her for the ride. Born with one leg, Fessmeyer made history 2 years ago as a sophomore, becoming the first and only female wheelchair athlete to compete at the state track meet, and we met her before she left for Columbus.
That's going to be memorable, and it's going to be exciting, and it's something I'm definitely going to cherish when I go down there, and it's something I'm never going to forget.
It was a memorable moment for everyone. All the wheelchair athletes received a standing ovation as Jenna competed alongside the boys and won 4 state medals in the 100, 400, 800, and the shot put. 2014 was even better. More adapted athletes came out to compete, giving Fessmeyer teammates and opponents.
I'm doing this for the kids who are in their wheelchairs. I'm doing this for the kids who have never been in a sport. And so that's what really motivates me to push on.
Last spring, Jenna won 4 more state titles. Then she went national. First up, Ames, Iowa, for the Junior Nationals. Her times and scores were so good, Fessmeyer was given elite status, which gave her access to the Olympic Training Center in California.
Now I'm starting to see I'm part of the elite group, so I'm going to the Nationals this June, which is in Minnesota, and so I'll see how I can compare with them and hopefully make it on Team USA this year.
Her goal is to compete in the 2016 Paralympics in Rio. Jenna is training in 7 different track and field events, which is more than normal.
I not only went as a thrower, but I went as a wheelchair racer as well. And I'm the only athlete right now that is a wheelchair racer and seated thrower.
She also has another destination, the University of Illinois, where she has a track and field scholarship. But Jenna Fessmeyer will always remember where her journey began.
When I sit back and think about the accomplishments that Ohio has had with their wheelchair racers, it really makes me grateful for being in the position that I'm in, and I'm very excited to see where it's going to end up.
We want you to get more involved in the show, and you can through social media. Follow us on Twitter. We're at HS Sports Insider and at Dave Bacon Sports. Tweet us your story ideas, pictures, or video showing your school spirit. We'll use it in a future show. We're still plugging away on Facebook as well. Head to our page and like us. We're at High School Sports Insider.
But stick around. The tweets of the week are coming up next.
Before I decided to go back to Tri-C to become a nurse, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I love taking care of kids. If you're thinking about changing your career or changing your path, go to Cuyahoga Community College. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I have 3 great kids. I have a great job that I love. I could not have done it without Tri-C. My name's Diana Geary. I earned my nursing degree from Cuyahoga Community College.
Welcome back inside the High School Sports Insider. For the first 26 minutes or so of this show, we've told you what we think is important. Now it's your turn to let us know what's on your mind. A few rules: you have to use 280 characters or less. Pictures or video, even better. It's time for the tweets of the week.
Wadsworth High School student-run website was honored as the best in Ohio. Congrats to these state champion Grizzlies. Shaker Heights tennis coach Al Slauson was recently honored when they won their 1,000th match with him as head coach. St. Xavier won the first ever National High School Triathlon meet. Massillon Tigers senior Sam Hackenbrack hit her 40th career home run, tying her for 5th place in OHSAA history. And Gilmore senior pitcher Luke Shepard was perfect. Shepard threw a perfect game against Cleveland Central Catholic in the Lancers' 13-0 win.
Keep those tweets coming. We want your story ideas or pictures or video showing your school spirit. Tweet those to us. We're at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSI Ohio. Again, that's at HS Sports Insider or at Dave Bacon Sports. Use hashtag HSSI Ohio. We'll use a few of them on upcoming shows as the tweets of the week. We are now all out of time on this week's show. Our half hour together always seems to fly by. Before we go this week, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope to see you back here next week, same time, same place, when again we'll have some of the best high school sports stories from all across Ohio.
Thanks for watching, and thank you for supporting high school athletics. Have a great night.